Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the number one source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter. Hey, fine folks. This is Freedom Fighter. And I hope everyone can hear me. I hope everyone is doing well. Of course, this is Saturday Night Dialogues, and this is September the 7th, 2024, with the one and only Jester and myself, Freedom Fighter, hosting the call as we do every Saturday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have a jam-packed call tonight with information that is going to be very telling of where things are in the process of the RVGCR. We're going to get right to making sure my man Jester, I see you are here. You ready to rock and roll, my partner in crime?
I've been ready all afternoon since we talked.
You're chomping at the
I'm ready to
finish.
go, bro. I am. We got some
Uh,
good stuff for you folks tonight.
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, we'll get rocking and rolling with some prayer, and we will get to it. Father God, we thank you as always. We thank you for being so merciful, so kind, so gracious upon us. We thank you for allowing us to be here one more time to spread this love, spread this wisdom, this knowledge, this information that we know you ultimately are the author of this information. You are the author of this blessing, this movement, this momentous occasion. And we are so appreciative that you chose us, but we also know that we had free will and choice, and we chose to be here and we chose to be a part of this as well. We ask that you guide Jester and myself and anyone that is going to bring forth any information tonight on this call. And please guide our hearts, our minds, and our well-beings. We ask that you cover anyone that is traveling on the roads, wherever they are, cover their families. We ask that you continue to heal our family, our friends, such as Dave Big Dog, D, and others who may be going through some medical um, trials at the moment. And we pray in your precious name, in Jesus' name, amen. All right, folks. Um, okay, so my signal is doing weird stuff. Let me hold on one second. Okay, I hope this is better. If it sounds weird, I hope hopefully it clears up. Getting the word that I sound funky. So okay. One second. Let me try one.
I don't know where you're getting that info, but I hear you fine.
Okay, I'm clear to you.
Yeah, you're clear to me.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so I hope I'm clear to everyone else. Hopefully. All right. Cool. So, folks, real quick, a few announcements, just so that you're aware. We have the Goldilocks QFS Dialogue Room, which is, excuse me, of course, open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Jester, are you cooking? What's for dinner? Or are you washing dishes? What's going on?
I was actually cleaning up a little spill I made here. Sorry. I
It's
apologize
all,
for that.
it's all right. Um, Goldilocks QFS Dialogues Room, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Saturday. And of course, my main man Jester's Place is available and open to you all from 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday. And that is where the get down goes. Jester comes in and kicks it and shares his knowledge and information as well, having fun. And then on Saturdays as well, from 8 p.m., Jester's Place, 8 p.m. to 9, right before this call. Higher Learning with Anastasia is on Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we are blessed to spend time with her and she brings us sight and insight and foresight on a spiritual level for within ourselves and also pertaining to the RV. Then we have D's Economics. For those of you who may not know D, she is global contacts all over the world, um, and has a lot of information she shares in her room daily with articles. Excuse me. And then also crypto news with Dave Big Dog, who is healing up from a little knee procedure that he had, but all things crypto. And folks, if you have questions related to crypto, that is the room right there. We're also the Spike also is an admin in that room helping you to understand more on crypto. All right. And then last but not least, well, actually, not last, but I want to add next Thursday, we have a treat for you all. I mean, every day is, but next Thursday, Wiley will be doing a call at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And actually, it will be sort of an interview type of call with two of our members who sent the questions in to their wealth managers. They established relationships with wealth managers. Wiley did a call 2 weeks ago on the questions, 9 questions to ask a wealth manager. And these amazing ladies took those questions, sent them to their wealth manager, and the wealth managers answered their questions. So Wiley will take some time with those two beautiful ladies next Thursday. And if you want to have a firsthand feedback on wealth managers from the banks responding to these questions, you don't want to miss that call next Thursday with Wiley with Brunette Grand and PR. And I'll be hosting. I'll be the hostess of the mostest. Then, last but not least, this is last, and it's an amazing accomplishment. Goldilocks Global Banking News, of course, is your daily podcast for the facts on the RVGCR, where over 100 countries literally are subscribed and tuning in to people from around the world. And just today, actually overnight, a major milestone, and we reached 4,000 subscribers overnight, and that was just within under 37 days. The word is really getting out. More and more people are becoming attracted uh, and desiring the truth, the facts, whereby they're able to see the proof of those facts in writing, whereby Goldilocks is sharing with us daily. All right. And so, along with, of course, during the week, we're breaking down the articles every day while he's in the room sharing his information. And definitely, of course, on Saturdays with Jester, myself. And all of this is contributing to um, the reach and the growth of the channel to reach many people, thousands of people around around the world. All right, we are going to get into it tonight. We are going to touch on Hawaii and their efforts on gold, then China. Do not dismiss China because it's not a currency that you may be invested in. Do not dismiss it as being not important. Do not dismiss it as being irrelevant. We're going to Goldilocks is sharing some things that China is doing. But you got to remember, China is a part of BRICS. It's one of the actually one of the original founders of BRICS. And yes, we're going to show you how Iraq is connected to China and other countries in the BRICS. Many, I'm sure, have missed it, have missed that fact because mm, they're looking for, or I should say, being guided, misguided to look for only Iraq when this is a global event. That's why it's the global currency reset, not the dinar currency reset. However, most definitely the dinar is connected to the whole entire globe. But we're going to touch on that as well tonight. And before we do, there is a I'm going to share something into the room that's very relevant to all of us here. And actually, Wiley said something that um, encouraged me. I guess this actually came to me. I was in church last Sunday, and it's a Bible verse from Matthew 18, chapter 18, verse 12 through 14. And it says, and I dropped it into the room, if a man has 100 sheep and one of them wanders away, what will he do? Won't he leave the 99 others on the hills and go out to search for the one that is lost? And if he finds it, I tell you the truth, he will rejoice over it more than over the 99 that didn't wander away. I remember Wiley said a couple of weeks ago, and I heard him say it before, and it was a great reminder, um, is that, and also I've heard Goldilocks say the same thing, is in this mission to help all of you to get to the finish line of your exchange and be in a position to maintain your wealth. Even if we reach one of you, our mission is complete. We can't save everyone. We're not going to reach everybody. But if there is one, many of you, including myself, I was one of those lost sheep. Now, what is one of those lost sheep? 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I believed in it's happening every weekend. I believed in the high level sources said, I believed in the banker said, I believed in the boots on the ground. I believed the long weekend is going to happen. I believed that there were shadows in the night in the bank. And those must have been employees of the bank getting ready for the exchange. I was one of those too. I was one of those lost. Many of our members were the lost sheep as well. So I'm letting you know I was one of them. Then I had to slap myself and straighten myself out and go back to the knowledge and experience that I had when I was in international finance as a board member of an international bank and be like, hold up, I had to go back to that and shake off that dust. And I had to be found again. But I tell you, and I will always give Jester credit. He was one of the ones. He was the one back then, 12, 13 years ago, who was trying his best to go out and get the lost sheep by telling the truth. And here he is, Wiley as well. So if we reach one of you tonight, we know that there are several of you who are new on this call. You might be lost, but hopefully by the end of this call, you won't be one of the lost sheep anymore. We're going to bring you back into the 99. We have many members here in our room that they were the lost sheep, but not anymore. They yearn for the truth, the facts, and they get it. And it comes from vetted, actual sources that Goldilocks shares that we can review for ourselves. Whether it's from the CBI, yep, we're going to go into the CBI tonight. Whether it's from the International Monetary Fund, the U.S. Treasury, the Commodities Future Trade Commission, the Bank of International Settlements, Bretton Woods, the Federal Register, and many other actual agencies that are responsible for the GCR. As a matter of fact, Jester's going to touch on another one that I just came to my mind that Goldilocks has shared so much about as well, and that is ISO, the International Standards Organization, where, if you don't know, briefly, that is the protocols for which XRP and all banking systems are connected to, which our currencies will be exchanged on in the new digital banking system. So that information we're going to be bringing to you tonight. Now let's jump right into the very, very first article. Oh, and by the way, the beautiful, beautiful Miss Brunette Grand will be helping me in a little bit. She's going to help read some information. And Brunette Grand, when she gets on the call, you there, young lady? Okay, I see you. I want to make sure you're
And
okay.
just so you know, Liberty's going to help me a minute too. Okay.
Beautiful. Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
All right,
Hey,
Brunette
no
Grand. I see.
problem, man. I appreciate the little shout out you did there. I was kind of like, I gave everybody a little bit of something to think about. So I was talking to a buddy of mine and asking me how things were going. You know, it's been going on for a long time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And just like you said, right? You were the lost sheep, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I tried to give him some information, and I said, "How do you want it? You want it? You want it sugar coated or straight between the eyes?" He says, "You pick." He says, "You pick." So I give him a little download, and he
Uh,
says, "Is it too late to get it sugar coated?" I said, "That was sugar coated."
it's too late now, son. You got it.
Oh well. Anyway, that's what we're doing, my man. You know that, right?
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's the.
You need to get with it, guys. This is it.
Mm-hmm.
This is reality.
Yes, indeed. And you know what? And oftentimes, and you know better than anyone because you're such a straight shooter. Oftentimes, people may not appreciate it at first, but after a while, give it some time. They may come around and appreciate it more after they've bumped their head a few times, and you know
Uh,
we've all been
I
there.
think everybody's getting used to me now.
Oh, I mean, come on. I'm sure. I'm
I,
sure.
I seriously had people that were scared of me over at Seeds of Wisdom. I'm like, really? I mean, I kind of felt bad. Oh man. Anyway, I hope that's not the case anymore. I love you guys, and I just don't know how to do it any other way. That's what got me in trouble back 15 years ago. So it is what it is.
No, that's large in part why people are here because they appreciate your truth. They appreciate it.
It's the only
So
way I know to do it. So there
yep,
you go.
awesome. All right, and all right, we're gonna jump into this first this first article. Man, I'm so excited about tonight's call. Well, I'm excited about everyone, but this one, um, as well. All right. We're going to jump right into this is on Hawaii, and we're not going to go over the whole entire article. I'm going to summarize this for the most part for you, but it's relevant to the whole entire GCR. Goldilocks shares Hawaii's new digital currency guidance is a landmark development for the fintech industry. It not only clarifies the legal landscape for digital currency activities, but also signals the state's commitment to supporting innovation and financial inclusivity. Yes, digital currency in Hawaii. Don't forget, folks, Hawaii is one of our states. Digital currency in Hawaii is being used as money. They have new protection laws and guidance protocols to ensure customer satisfaction among their population that sets the stage for the rest of the United States to do the same. Because remember, Hawaii is a state of the Union. There are 9 guidelines that must be followed. And I'm not going to read all 9 of them, but you can, stable coins is a part of this, digital currency is a part of the guidelines as well. And all things connected to the US dollar related to digital wallets and cryptocurrencies. It's like I said, the stable coins and tokens moving into the quantum financial system. And like Goldilocks has shared, these guidelines is a guideline for the other states to follow. I'm gonna drop down to where it says about a week ago, Goldilocks says we talked about a final rule that was completed in the expansion of broadband connectivity in small rural areas on the Federal Register. And I'm sure many of you remember this. This has made the sandbox experiment for Hawaii possible through fintech, and it looks like they are well on their way to mass adoption. If you remember, when we began our time together over 3.5 years ago, fintech was a big part of the conception of the new digital financial system being placed in Iraq at that time. And we got an update for you on that a little later. Fintech and JP Morgan Chase have come a long way since that time in creating digital workspaces inside banks all over the world. Much of the groundwork has been done. We are well on our way to bringing in final touches to the laws that will guide administrative teams involved in implementing our new quantum financial system. Then Goldilocks shares the actual links to the government of Hawaii. You can click. That's the second one from the government of Hawaii. And the third one, if you want to take your time, some other time, and take a look at it. But it's very relevant as a blueprint, if you will. It's not the only one. There's several, but here in the United States. But Hawaii is moving forward with their sound money policies and a standard that all the states within, like I said, the union will follow. And Iraq is already ahead of the game. And we'll touch on that a little later. And before we get into the next one, this was quick and easy. Jester, you have anything you want to add on this, my good man, before we go to China?
No, this is going to happen. You know, this is going to happen across the board before it's over with. You know that, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
if we're going to start using these stable coins, and that ought to be a hint to everybody, just so you know.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're making it legal to do so.
Yes, indeed. All right. Let's jump over to China. And folks, do not dismiss China. And we're going to connect some dots for you tonight that I am 99.9% sure, most of 99% sure, most of you on this call haven't connected the dots to what we're going to share with you tonight. But when we share this information that we're going to follow up with, along with this article by Goldilocks on China, there's going to be a lot of aha moments for you on that are listening to this call. Let's jump into it. China is moving to a non-deliverable forward on the interbank market with their currency in dealing with foreign exchange services in trade. Now, you don't need to know the technical intricacies of this, but basically what this is referring to is the Chinese yuan, which is China's currency, will be in a position to do trade with countries around the world on the future value, not present, but future value of assets. All right. From a previous article, we talked about the Chinese yuan, or a collection of BRICS nations' currencies, and 40% gold being traded in international shipping ports. Folks, you got to remember, China is a part of BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and a few other nations we're going to touch on in a little bit. Now, in order for a country to join the BRICS nations, they must have a certain amount of gold in reserves and meet those requirements. So let's continue. A while back, we talked about the Dollar Act. The dollar and the Chinese yuan would eventually share international status and global trade between the East, the eastern part of the world, and the West, us. Remember, Goldilocks, for those that don't know, when you've heard Goldilocks mentioned, watch the water. That is global trade for all countries around the world that do trade of goods and services from country to country. It's through their shipping ports. Why is that so relevant to us? Because those countries are moving to a role where they're shifting to their own currencies, local currencies, whereby historically they were utilizing the US dollar. Yes, the US dollar for trade, because the US dollar was the world's reserve currency. Countries around the world, this is why large in part, most of the currencies around the world are devalued. And also because of human manipulation, where now we're moving into the new digital banking system, the quantum financial system, whereby artificial intelligence and technology will enable the real values on assets. Yes, the real values on our currencies, the real values on digital cryptocurrencies and precious metals such as gold, silver, and other commodities. So, China has climbed their way into international status and trade over the last few years. And the use of the Chinese yuan is becoming an acceptable form of trade among the eastern half of our world, the Chinese yuan. And for those of you who are thinking the Chinese yuan, oh, I didn't invest in Chinese yuan, that wasn't in the basket of currencies we were told to look at. Okay, that's fine. Don't dismiss it, because we're going to show you in a little bit how it is absolutely connected to your dinars. A non-deliverable forward mechanism placed on the Chinese yuan will hedge against exchange risks. When both parties, meaning two countries, do trade and agree the non-deliverable between each other in trade, the contract is fulfilled on the future date agreed upon by two parties. For example, let's say right now, again, I think I used this analogy before. If your house is valued at 300,000 and it may be projected, the way the market is going may be projected at 700,000 in 3 years. It's the equivalent of you selling your home to a buyer now, but you're selling it for the future value for $700,000 in present time. That's how this works with currencies and goods and services. China and the Chinese yuan and their trade partners now are having the ability to trade in the future value of an asset in present time. Goldilocks continues. This move will create a competitive nature between the East and the West in trade relations going forward, offering an opportunity for the leveling of the playing field to be based on merit and not a world reserve status, because the US dollar was the world reserve currency. So now just imagine, as currencies, dinar, dong, rupiah, bolivar, whatever currency you name it, the contracts that they may have, the value that the contracts of each country may have, spanning out 10, 20, 30 plus years, utilizing their own currencies. They can project the future value and do business with each other based on those future values on those currencies, all backed by gold. In other words, control is about to be lifted, Goldilocks says, over countries utilizing a world reserve status currency, such as the US dollar. This is a shift that Goldilocks is referring to in the world, away from the US dollar to countries using their own currencies. This is how this is one of the ways the value of our currencies can be predicated upon. because countries will no longer be utilizing the US dollar, just like beginning of this year, Iraq stopped using the US dollar for Iraq stopped using the USD for imports, yet for the Iraqi dinar instead, plus some other currencies. We're going to touch on that in a little bit. So in other words, Goldilocks says control is about to be lifted. Why? Because there is a shift happening, people. Control is about to be lifted over countries utilizing a world reserve status currency and local currencies such as the dinar, their own local currency, the dong, their own local currency, bolivar, their own local currency around the world will be freed up to determine new exchange rates based upon the supply and demand of those currencies in the open market. This is why Goldilocks says, watch the water. Don't dismiss China. In a little bit, we're going to touch on more on China and how they are connected. And there's several links that Goldilocks is providing. The fourth one is actually from the Federal Reserve, talking about the Chinese renminbi, which is the digital yuan, the digital Chinese yuan, which, ladies and gentlemen, is actually pegged to gold already. Yes, the Chinese currency is already pegged to gold. And we're going to get into that a little bit and why that's relevant to every last one of us who holds dinar. But before we do that, I'm going to share something else that is relevant about the BRICS. And then I'm going to go to my good brother Jester. The United Arab Emirates, the UAE, joined BRICS, the BRICS bloc, on January the 1st this year. The UAE was one of the 5 countries invited to join the BRICS in 2023. Don't forget, BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, Chinese yuan, along with Egypt, Iran, and Saudi Arabia. It's very key you understand what this just said. The UAE was one of the 5 countries invited to join the BRICS in 2023. I had previously mentioned on a call the countries are invited into the BRICS. No one can just ad hoc just join. We're going to touch on this in a little bit as well, on the UAE and how it's relevant also to the dinar. But before we do, I know my man Jester, I believe you have something you wanted to touch on.
Dude, I'm lost in space. All right. I mean, I got like 20 windows open here, and I'm like writing crap down. Like, that's right. You know, this whole yuan thing this has been going on a minute. People have not catched on. It is what it is. The whole this is the problem with having 20 windows open. You can't find the one you like to find. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I was looking at. No, I'm serious, because this is some freaky stuff. You know, the renminbi is the official currency. The yuan is its print, the unit of measurement. It's kind of like the pound and the sterling. Okay, the UK has. I don't know why they want to do it that way. It just makes it complicated, to be honest with you. But you know, the renminbi is the currency, and the yuan is the name of the primary unit of the renminbi. I don't know. Does that make sense? Yeah, it makes sense. But why go there anyway? It doesn't make sense why they would go there to make it complicated. Anyway, so I'm looking at this. I'm thinking to myself, all of this internationalization of the renminbi has been going on for some years now. I mean, they've been doing bilateral swap lines with other countries. They've been doing, I mean, they've been backstabbing the U.S. by helping Russia on the backside. And, you know, of course, then the United States tries to secondarily sanction them. But, you know, none of that works anyway, because it's all a bunch of puff. So all of this posturing that these guys are doing I mean, you see it and I see it. It seems obvious to me that the yuan and the renminbi is coming on, and it is going to be. Um, I don't. I'll be honest with you. I do not think they're going to be the reserve currency.
Mhm.
I do not think we're going to have a reserve currency like that next time. I believe it's going to be the BRICS. I believe we're going to have a those five or ever how many ends up in the BRICS. I think that's how they're going to do it next time. I don't
Mhm.
think we're going to have a dollar or a pound or a yuan. That's
Mhm.
my opinion. Um, I don't think I don't think we're heading that direction, which I think is a good thing. Um, but China is coming on. I'm telling you. Um, there's no doubt in my mind. The only reason you don't see Russia coming on right beside them is because they're so good at being sneaky. You know.
Right.
So
K,
I don't know.
K, KGB type of stuff.
I'm going to send you this article I've got here. It's too complicated to go in on this call. I'm going to send this to you,
Okay.
and you and Goldilocks, you know, tell me what you think of it because this is it would take me half an hour to go through this. So, but it's the conclusion is the reality of particularly the Russia central bank is
Mhm.
that how justified it is to the countermeasures against Russia's invasion of the Ukraine has violated some presumed sanctity of the central bank systems, which is
Mhm.
bullshit. But
Mhm.
the renminbi is helping them get around it with the bilateral trade agreements, which go throughout all kinds of countries.
Right.
Um, and this is coming on, guys. It just is what it is. Every time me and Freedom talk, I find some other little underlying little. It's like a little, those little roly poly bugs that you find under the rocks. It's kind of like that. You know? You're just laying there, like here I am. I don't know. It's crazy. Uh,
Yeah.
I was painting pots all day, so there you go.
Yes. All right.
But this
All
is some good stuff. This whole yuan thing is huge, in my opinion.
huge, 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 huge. Absolutely. All right. Excellent. Excellent. And what we're going to do, we are going to jump right in. Did you want to bring Liberty on now, or did you want to wait, Jester, with yourself? Can you hear
Hang
me?
on. That's fine. She was going to bring on that article we were talking about earlier today.
Okay.
Um, if you think this is the right time to do that, that's fine. It was about the
Sure.
ISO.
Yeah.
And do you have an ISO article you want to do first?
No, no, but it all connects, so it's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're ready, I'm ready. All
Let's go. Let's rock and roll.
right, Liberty, drop that sucker because I got 50 things open here and I can't figure out what I'm
Okay.
doing.
Okay. I think she just dropped it. Okay.
I wanted to
Okay.
have a bacon sandwich for dinner, but I couldn't find any bread, so I'm having a bacon sandwich and hot dog buns.
There it is. Boom. Love it. Okay.
Sweet. So the reason I thought this was cool, and this goes back to, if you like to, I don't know, if you like to find a way my mind works, that might be some scenario. But um, if you look at this scenario here, where all this is ISO members by country. Now, what I want to point out here to everybody is that the ISO is not what you think it is. Everybody thought, well, do you guys have any clue what the ISO really is? Because this has been around for a long time. I mean, these guys were instituted in 1946. All right, the ISO story is very, very long and got a very good history on it. Um, so 25 countries met to discuss the future of, well, international standardization of all kinds of things, engineering things. I think this is where they tried to put the metric system in and a whole bunch of things like that. But they try to standardize things that make it easier for everybody else to, well, to communicate. Basically, I mean, it's no secret to me that they're using it for communication of the banking system now, simply because of all the engineering things that they did in the past. Um, there was, like, I don't know, there was, when they started out, there were 60 committees or something like this. I can't remember exactly. But in 1947, these guys started trying to standardize the world, basically.
Hmm.
And so you think, okay, that's, I don't know, you guys can calculate in your head too, right? That's like what, 50 years, 70 years
Hmm.
that this has been going on. So this was not a new thing that happened. This ISO 222 is not a new thing that just came out of the freaking woodwork and said, okay, here we are. They've been working on this a minute. All right. I'm convinced of it. And I talked to Freedom Fighter about it today. I said, you know, this isn't something that just came up. These guys have been screwing around with this for a minute. And I believe this is all part of the plan.
Hmm.
That and that's why this is happening the way it is. I think there's more to it than meets the eye. I think these guys are a part of it. And so I thought to say, who's in charge of this sucker? Well, nobody's in charge of this sucker. Everybody's a member. Everyone in the world is already hooked into
Yep.
this thing.
Every central bank, every banking system. Hmm.
And now I'm starting to feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe a baby Huey or something, because I'm hadn't been paying attention. And this is all going on behind our. I mean, this is
Yep.
all right out in the open, right? But we
Hmm.
don't. Nobody sees it,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And now here we are. We're looking at it, so I guess that's good. But these guys are putting all this stuff out
Yep.
in bright daylight, and
Yep.
nobody's catching it.
The truth is hidden in plain sight.
Yeah, that's it. The more I see it, the more I'm flabbergasted by the fact that it's just all right out there in the open.
Right.
This is what we're doing. This is where it's going.
Hmm.
And Goldilocks is doing a hell of a job, laying down the pieces that we're looking at. So I
Hmm.
you know I'm convinced this is where we're going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And folks, it's what Jester just shared is phenomenal, because what you'll see, and this is why I continue to repeat the value that Jester brings along with Goldilocks collectively, and of course our main man Wiley. But as you see, what Jester is sharing, the International Organization for Standardization is a network of 172 national standard bodies. Folks, for those that may not have been on several of the calls, but um, not only has Goldilocks shared many articles from the Bank of International Settlements about ISO, International Organization for Standardization, um, but you, this is so you have the ISO and you have the IOS. Collectively, you have all of these governing bodies that are working in conjunction with one another in order to standardize protocols within the banking system. So when you see this, this is like Jester is saying, it's nothing new. This is um, this is amazing. Thank you for sharing this, my good man.
You are most welcome. I just uh, that's why I was so excited when I was talking to you today.
Yeah, and
I know that was like you calling me at 6 o'clock in the morning the other day.
right. Yep. So, folks, and when you have every country around the world, every central bank, every bank around the world is connected, and so um, you, even where Goldilocks has shared, where with ISO. You have your ISO 222 and the protocols within it. All of this is connected because all banks around the world are connected. All right. Every single bank. This is the ability for all banks to communicate with all other banks. So when you look at the standardization and the protocols under that umbrella, it enables transactions that are instant transactions, instant settlements, and then of course instant exchanges. This is all relevant connected into the quantum financial system. All relevant. All right, so we're going to jump right into the next Brunette Grand. If you can unmute, folks, we got a celebrity in the house. You there,
Hello.
young lady? How you doing,
Hey,
beautiful?
everybody.
You doing all right?
Yeah, I was reading all those countries. I said, oh my goodness. China, Iraq. Oh, wow.
Uh-huh.
That's
All connected.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah. And we have what? We only have not only have, but we have 179, 180 countries, and this is 172 that are so.
Yeah.
Folks, it's this is bigger than you can imagine, and it's a bombshell. All right. So all the connections of in the ISO, the international standards, you have your tokens that make way for the our paper currencies to be exchanged on the quantum financial system is through the international standards protocols. All right. What I'm going to do, I'm going to drop these into the room, Brunette. For those of you who don't know, Miss Brunette Grant, she deserves an introduction. This young lady is one of several of our members who established a relationship with her wealth manager months ago, and she's been in communication even most recently with her wealth manager. Her and PR will be on the call with Wiley next Thursday because what Brunette Grant and PR did, they took the questions they got from Wiley, the questions to ask your wealth manager, she sent them to her wealth manager and he responded, answering the questions. So you all will be have the fortune, the great fortune to hear her inside firsthand story and information based on her communications with her wealth manager. And no, she will not be exchanging her currency behind the Piggly Wiggly at the porta potty redemption center. It will be at a bank. I got that from Wiley, the Piggly Wiggly. And so and we thank you, Brunette Grant, for just being you, your wonderful spirit, and your awesome spirit. We appreciate you. So, folks, Brunette Grant is going to read something to you, and you're all going to get an epiphany right now. Did you get an epiphany when you read this, Brunette Grant, earlier, or did you see it before?
No, no, I did. Once you said that you had posted that a few days ago, I remember you posting that, and then I went back and read when you dropped it today. I said, yeah, yep,
All right. Yep. So Brunette Grant is going to help us out, folks, and read this information so that you all can hear a different voice and read what she's going to go over. This is an article from Iraq, and we know that you all, and this is a twofold topic. One is going to be basket of currencies. We know that a lot of people have heard about these basket of currencies. Well, what you've been told is a basket of currencies is not accurate. There's no accurate spreadsheet. There's a spreadsheet going around the internet for years about a basket of currencies. Someone created this spreadsheet and told us all that there was this basket of currencies. Well, how about we go directly to the source about a basket of currencies? And it just so happens Iraq has a basket of currencies. So Brunette Grant, if you can read this, folks. This is from Al Kadimi, which is he's one of the advisors to the prime minister in Iraq, and these two screenshots. The second screenshot is actually a continuation from the article in the first screenshot. So, Brunette Grant, if you can read this for us, we'll greatly appreciate it.
Okay. So it says that the committee hosted the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq and a deputy for multiple sessions. The issue of the dollar was discussed and the package of measures he took, the latest of which is the
Oh,
import of cash blocks of foreign currencies under
you
certain.
forgot one. You forgot one. There's one above that in the room, starting with Al Kadimi.
Oh,
I
I'm
dropped it. That's okay. That's all right. You
sorry.
moving fast.
Al
That's all
Qaeda
right. Uh
dealing
huh.
with currencies
Uh
reduces
huh.
the dominance of the dollar
You kind of
in
broke up. Can you repeat that?
economic battle. Iraq's dealing with the basket of currencies
With a
reduce
what?
a basket of currencies.
Oh, that's what I thought you said. Uh huh.
Iraq's dealing with the basket of currency reduces the dominance of the dollar, and the government is in an economic battle.
What's the date of this article?
It is 12/26 of 2023.
So this was article, folks, that came out of Iraq last year, December the 26th, 2023. This is from one of the financial advisors named Al Kadimi to the prime minister, talking about a basket of currencies. Okay. Now, if you don't mind, young lady, if you can read, you already started, but if you can go ahead with the second, this is, folks, what she's about to read is a continuation of into the article from Iraq from December the 26th last year. Go ahead, young lady.
Okay, the committee hosted the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq and a deputy for multiple sessions. The issue of the dollar was discussed and the package of measures he took. The latest of which is the import of cash blocks of foreign currencies under certain conditions.
Okay, 1 second. I'm sorry. Hold tight. I'm sorry. Folks, what she read was there was a problem, like you read in the beginning, there was a battle. The dollar and the government is in an economic battle. So there was a problem last December regarding this basket of currencies, regarding the dinar, regarding the US dollar in Iraq. So now Brunette Grant, now she's continuing to read. She's talking about the latest package of measures regarding the conditions. I'm sorry, I cut you off. You can go ahead and continue at in addition to.
Okay, in addition to the recent measures and the agreement with the U.S. Federal Reserve to agree to deal with the UAE, Durham,
Mm-hmm.
Pro,
The euro,
Yen,
the Chinese yuan.
and or Chinese yuan, and
Mm-hmm.
the Indian rupee, which is also known as the Turkish lira, all
Mm-hmm.
contributed to reducing the exchange rate.
Okay, let's pause there. So, folks, also the U.S. Treasury was a part of this meeting as well in Iraq. So it was the U.S. Federal Reserve and the U.S. Treasury. In addition, this was in December. In January, the Central Bank of Iraq also met with the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve in Abu Dhabi on the same issue of what they were having issues with remittances, which is meaning to transfer money through the banking system outside of Iraq to other countries and also from other countries into Iraq. That's what this is referring to. Okay. Now, if what you all heard Brunette Grand state is the measures in the U.S. Federal Reserve to agree also with the Treasury to deal with the UAE dirham. That's the United Arab Emirates. What was the country that a few minutes ago we shared that just joined the BRICS in January of this year? Let me drop it again into the room to refresh your memories. The UAE, the United Arab Emirates. So these currencies that Brunette Grant is reading, folks, This is Iraq's basket of currencies that the dinar is pegged to. The U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve signed a contract and an agreement to allow Iraq to peg the dinar to the United Arab Emirates currency, which is the UA dirham, the euro, the Chinese yuan, the Indian rupiah, and Turkish lira. So this is the model that these countries are stronger together than they are apart. Meaning, when you have these currencies in a basket and they are batched together, if you take another currency and you attach it to that basket, the currency that you attach to that basket becomes stronger. So the United States, through the Federal Reserve and through the United States Treasury, agreed to allow the dinar to be pegged, to be batched against the UAE dirham, the euro, the Chinese yuan. Now, they were still in December. This article is from December of last year when they agreed to this. Because what they did was, because of the issues that Iraq was having with the weakness of the dinar, they said a good way to begin to help bringing stability to the dinar is to peg it to other currencies that are stronger. It's like the term, the rising tide raises all ships. This is just another way that the United States helped Iraq in the process to bring up the stability of the dinar. It doesn't happen from a flip of the switch. Now, mind you, we're in December of last year. The UAE dirham, that's a BRICS nation. The Chinese yuan, a BRICS nation. The Indian rupiah, BRICS nation. So here you have 3 BRICS currencies for which the dinar, at this time in December, they're talking about pegging it to. This was in December, they're talking about this. Okay. Now, Miss My Beautiful Grand, you can continue. Thank you. I'm sorry, I had to interject, but go ahead.
He added, some banks have started importing the dollar, but they are not enough for the black market. And the
Mm-hmm.
sales of the central bank are large, and we are surprised that they are insufficient for trade.
Mm-hmm.
Al Kadimi pointed out that the Finance Committee continued with the central bank and followed up and submitted proposals. Some of them were taken, and the others are still the bank's luster, including the Industrial Initiative, which will gradually work on some industries so that their production becomes internal to reduce the demand for the dollar.
Mm-hmm. And you're so bright. Reducing the demand of the dollar. What ultimately will happen to the value of the dinar?
Up,
Yeah, exactly. Now you can continue. I knew. See, you're so bright. You're not just a pretty face. See, go ahead. Go ahead.
he continued, control of customs and border crossings contributes to the stability of the
Mm-hmm.
currency exchange internally.
Mm-hmm.
The central bank, in cooperation with parliamentary finance, seeks to facilitate the work of Iraqi traders, stressing the and
Yeah. Duh.
anything else.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm gonna come back to you in a little bit. But folks, so what we see here is a problem last year in December, but they worked on the solution. Now we talked about, and it's a basket of currencies to help the dinar become stronger in the global market by pairing it with other currencies. And what the United States Department of Treasury did in January is they when they met in Abu Dhabi with Iraq, They also met with, in that meeting, was also JP Morgan Chase and Citibank. This was in January. And they agreed to allow the UAE Durham BRICS as of January this year. They agreed to allow the euro and the Turkish lira and the Indian rupee, the Chinese yuan, for JP Morgan Chase to deposit those currencies into a number of Iraq's banks. So those currencies were agreed to be deposited into the Iraqi banking system. Why would they do that? Hmm. We'll get into that in a minute. But this is all relevant going back to China. We're going to connect these dots. Okay. Now you see, you guys are, I hope you're seeing the connection with the United Arab Emirates just joining BRICS in January. The Treasury agreed for them to be paid to, for the dinar to be paid to them. This is the real basket of currencies. All right. So I'm going to come back to you in a little bit, Brunette Grand. I'm going to jump into the next article. I know, Jester, you probably don't have anything to add, but normally, but I'm going to jump, see if you do. You got anything you want to add on that? Oh, I think I should have given you a heads up.
Dude, you're killing me. You look like a secret sign or something here. Yeah. But as you can imagine, I really don't care about Iraq, and quite frankly, I have nothing to add on this.
Okay,
I mean,
cool.
it makes sense. Don't get me wrong. I just don't care.
I know you don't, but I knew you didn't. But I had to
All
come
right.
to you just in
But
case.
thank you anyway. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. All right, folks. Now we're going to get into this. Is the article directly from the CBI from August the 30th that Goldilocks is sharing, and Goldilocks actually also combined it with the IVSC, which is the International Valuation Standard Committee. This is all relevant. You're going to connect these dots. Today, we're going to look at the CBI article from Iraq. It's the second link, folks, and one from the IVSC, which is the International Valuation Standards Committee. The International Valuation Standards Committee is actually similar to the article, to what Jester shared a few minutes ago from the International Standardization Organization. What the IVSC is an international protocol standards for the valuation, or to set the new values, new prices on assets. So all assets, all values have to follow a specific new standard as of the meeting on January the 31st. Goldilocks continues. The CBI article parallels what the U.S. is doing in completing their final steps of the new digital economy. Both countries, the U.S. and Iraq, are expected to complete their banking reforms by the end of the year. Iraq goes on to say in their CBI article that they do expect to be finished with their banking reforms, but they do not expect a new rate by the end of this year. Two shifts are expected to happen by the end of this year. Number one, Iraq is expected to move from the Federal Reserve auditing and monitoring their banking protocols so that Iraq can have direct relationships between banks around the world. This is a shift where Iraq is actually moving away from the Federal Reserve. A part of the white paper economic reform plan that was written by the late Dr. Shabibi, one of the final steps for Iraq to be able to revalue their currency is to remove themselves from the electronic platform, which is the Federal Reserve's controlling Iraq's bank account for their oil. And Iraq, by the CBI, based on this meeting that they had last week in the US, agreed to remove that control by the Federal Reserve by the end of this year. Goldilocks continues. Their anti-money laundering law is supposed to protect cross-border trades as well. This will enable Iraq to have more control over their finances going forward. Because right now, folks, the U.S. controls Iraq's finances, specifically for oil. In 2003, when the U.S. invaded Iraq, they took over the oil and the oil accounts to where that account is in the Federal Reserve, specifically at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. That's the account. So if Iraq sells, I think it's a little over 3 billion barrels of oil a day. If they want to pay their staff, they want to pay when they want to pay bills, they got to ask, who's your daddy, Federal Reserve? Can I go into my piggy bank and pay my bills? The Federal Reserve says yay or nay. At the end of this year, that is being removed. Goldilocks continues. This will allow Iraq to become part of the process of the new standard valuations being placed on the dinar through the International Valuation Standards Committee. This will allow Iraq, just like every other asset, this will allow the dinar and other assets around the world to have a new standard for valuations. The International Standard Valuation Committee meets on January 31st, 2025. They're expected to begin the process of incorporating new valuation standards. You can even say new revaluation standards, because there will be a revaluation on the assets, on the prices, and assets and their values, including the new digital economy that will influence new financial instruments. Although the IVSC does not determine market values, it does provide standards for valuation that are used globally. I'm going to skip down to the paragraph, the second from the bottom. Goldilocks says, I will continue. Let me go to one above. The process. The process sets the stage for international payment systems to begin the process of determining currency values based upon supply and demand, government policies, exchange rate types, such as fixed or floating rates, and or a pegging to another currency. What did we share with you a few minutes ago? The dinar is paid to other currencies. The UAE dirham, strong. The Chinese yuan, strong. The euro, the Turkish lira, as well. Goldilocks continues, I will continue to monitor Iraq and the United States' development of banking reforms as they reflect on the new quantum technologies built to enhance independence and sovereignty of all countries around the world. This is why I share with you information on these new rules and regulations from the Federal Register. And this is key what Goldilocks continues to share. I am noticing that what happens on the Federal Register with the new banking regulations taking place in the United States are also taking place in Iraq around the same time. What we're noticing is that Iraq and the United States, it's like they are doing a dance, a 1-2 step, where they are following each other on regulations, anti-money laws in the United States, also anti-money laws being implemented in Iraq, anti-money laundering laws. Also, digital currency, digital asset, digital regulations. Iraq, their banking system just they announced went digital in May of this year. Regulations, October here in the United States is the month of regulations. Foreign currency exchange regulations, not only for us as individuals, but for the banks as well. Also, October the 1st is where Basel III for the large banks is implemented the capital requirements for large banks. Actually is implemented on October the 1st. Another regulation. Iraq and the US are moving together lockstep and key at the same, almost at the same time, doing the same thing. Iraq won't be doing what they're doing without the approval of the United States, specifically the Treasury. This is why they've had these meetings and got these approvals from the US Treasury on their banking system. This is why the US Treasury agreed for the dinar to be pegged to these other basket of currencies. This is why in this CBI article, this press release directly from the CBI, it's the second link. If you want to click it now, translate it now or later, you can do so, but I'm going to drop something to help you in a little bit. It's coming directly from the CBI, what they're doing, that they will be removed by the end of this year from the Federal Reserve's control. They would not be able to say that with already having the approval of the United States to publicize that. Brunette Grant, I'm going to share something else into the room. I'm going to need your help on this, if you don't mind, young lady.
Okay.
If you can unmute, got you. There you go. Now, folks, that Brunette Grant is going to read. Now, the first one Brunette Grant read was from the 26th of December last year, and it talked about the UAE dirham, Indian rupee, the basket of currencies, right? There was a problem, right? And they had a problem with moving money. Iraq had a problem with moving money in and outside of Iraq in their new digital banking. They had a bunch of hiccups, glitches in the banking system from which they were trying to digitize. Now we're going to fast forward to last Monday, because that meeting on the 26th, that Brunette Grant was the Federal Reserve, the U.S. Department of Treasury. Also, J.P. Morgan Chase was a part of that meeting, and Citibank was a part of that meeting. Now, fast forward to August the 30th in the United States. Brunette Grant, if you can read from the red down, where it says the Central Bank of Iraq, and down.
The Central Bank of Iraq confirms that trade with the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, India, and China represents about 70% of Iraq's foreign traders.
Okay, 1 second. And imports, right? Hold 1 second. Now, what she just read, the Central Bank of Iraq confirms that the trade with the United Arab Emirates, the UAE dirham, Turkey, the Turkish lira, India, Indian rupee, and Chinese yuan, China, represents about 70% of Iraq's foreign trades and imports. Now let's pause. When Brunette Grant read the article from December the 26th of last year, there was a major problem. They had issues with the new digital banking system and moving the flow of these currencies in and out of Iraq. Fast forward to August the 30th. This is the second link from the CBI that Goldilocks is sharing. Now, 70%, they went from zero last year having a problem to 70% of Iraq's imports are in the UAE dirham, BRICS, Turkey, Turkish lira, India, BRICS, China, the Chinese yuan, BRICS, 70%. And the way it works is because these countries are major trade partners with Iraq. So when these countries do trade with Iraq, which is daily, they pay in their local currencies. So the UAE pays in dirham, China pays in yuan, Turkey pays in the Turkish lira, India pays in Indian rupees, but Guess where the dinar comes in? There's two sides of a trade, two sides of a transaction. On one side of the transaction is the UAE dirham. On the other side, once it's into Iraq, it's settled in dinars. So if Iraq is doing a trade with with China, let's say if it's wheat, corn, whatever product, China pays in the Chinese yuan. But when it gets to Iraq, it's settled in the dinar. So you take all of those countries and their currencies, the dinar is actually now paid to them. Okay, Brunette, you can continue, young lady.
Okay, that let's see, 70% of Iraq's foreign traders as imports, which called on the central bank of Iraq to find channels for transfer in euro,
Hmm.
Chinese yuan,
Hmm.
Indian UAE dirham
Hmm.
through
Hmm.
approved correspondent banks in those countries.
Hmm.
And 13 Iraqi banks have already started transferring operations with a pre audit mechanism that has been agreed upon.
Now, so we went from the 26th of last year, December, it was a problem, having issues, to now approved correspondent banks, and the banks have already started transferring operations. So then that is in Iraq, where within less than a year from the article, December of last year, but Iraq started this process actually the beginning of last year. Now we have that they are already moving and flowing. And in this article, as it states in the first part of the article, and Goldilocks shared it, they plan on removing themselves from the Federal Reserves. You see the progression? They Iraq has graduated. They are being the training wheels, if you will, are being taken off. They will be set free eventually. But you can see the progression. You see how this has been a collective effort with the United States. So you got the United States regulations, Iraq regulations, collectively moving lockstep and key. Now, these currencies, this real basket of currencies that the dinar is pegged to, and you have the problem last year, solution. You see the progression. Brunette Graham her Okay. All right. Sorry about that. I hope you guys can hear me. I think we're back. Okay, Brunette Grand, if you
Yes.
can. All right. I was in the middle of asking you a question.
I but what happened? See, all of these articles is blowing the blowing everything up. See?
I hate when that happens. Question for you. Like I was saying, you're very astute and you research, you read. What was your thought process? Did you connect the dots? Did you connect? Because you're very good. I want to know. Did you connect the dots?
Oh yes. Now, when you post stuff, it's but it's I mean it's better when you're breaking it down. Once
Hmm.
you're breaking it down like you are tonight, you can connect all the dots a lot better. But this is amazing. That
Hmm.
it just it gives you chills because especially the part when United States and Iraq they're working side by side.
Hmm.
It's awesome. I it's awesome.
Yep. And we're able to see the progression over
Yeah,
time when we kind of go back in
yeah,
time a little bit last year to see from whence they came and the problems they had to where now things have they things have been approved. They're moving
yeah,
forward. Their trade, it's a major task, folks, for a whole country to do, to deposit multiple currencies into their banking system to do trade in other currencies to peg their own currency to that basket. The Department of Treasury agreed to this in January, and the all of those currencies, UAE dirham, Turkish lira, the euro, and the Indian rupee, it was JP Morgan Chase that was responsible for depositing those currencies into the Iraqi banking system, which also, I forgot, this is very important. Also, those other currencies are in the reserves of Iraq's banking system. So they're a part of Iraq's reserves, of course, along with gold. Because, folks, Iraq is ranked number 29th in the world in gold reserves. So I wanted to connect the dots because some of you may have dismissed the Chinese yuan and China as being insignificant to this whole process. Although we talk a lot about Iraq, Iraq is connected to the whole entire globe. The globe is connected to, of course, Iraq. Everything is connected to everything. I wanted to hit home on this so you see the relevance of China and the Chinese yuan, because now you all may begin to pay more attention when you hear about the Chinese yuan, when you hear about the UAE dirham, because you'll be thinking to yourself, hold up, this currency is connected to my dinars. But all currencies, folks, are actually connected to all currencies. Just like Jester shared earlier from the ISO, the International Standardization Organization. All countries are connected in some way, shape, or form. But we wanted to hit this home to bring it to your attention so you can see and get a better idea of what's transpiring in the process. And that second link is from the CBI. You don't need someone to tell you anything. The CBI is talking directly and openly. There's a lot more in that article that I'm not going to go over tonight because we kind of covered it already during the week. But we wanted to share that with you. Um, Jester, I know you most likely don't have anything to add, but I'm going to come to you anyway, just in case. If you can, before we go into Q&A. Chester, are you still cleaning up? What are you doing? What are you doing? Oh Oh, that's the multiple windows you have open. Did we lose Jester? Oh no, I see him there. Jester, can you unmute?
That I can. Yes, I can.
You crack me up, man.
Is that going to help?
Yeah, yeah, something else, dude.
Yeah. Well, it is what it is, right? You know, ah, interesting stuff here. I don't know that I have a lot to add. I'll be honest with you. It's kind of ubiquitous,
Self-explanatory.
right? All over the
Yeah.
place, right?
All right. Yes, indeed.
Well,
You ready? Hmm.
yeah, you got to keep your eye on the ball here. This IBS thing is another thing that I didn't expect, right? Did you expect it? Because we didn't. I never heard of them before this, so it is what it is. I didn't expect it.
Yeah,
And
actually, Goldie shared about them a while back, several times a while back. Um,
all right,
yeah. Hmm.
well, I missed that one, and I apologize to Goldilocks.
No worries. No
'Cause
worries.
I'm following along for a minute. Um, this is another one of those consortiums that doesn't make sense. You know,
Hmm.
I mean, everybody's in it already. If you go to look at their
Everybody, yeah.
sheet, it will really flip you out because it's not only a bunch of countries, but there's a whole bunch of
Yep. Systems.
exactly systems. A great way of putting it. Perfect analogy.
Hmm.
I mean, if you look at this, you go, I don't even know who. Quite frankly, I mean, this thing's just pages long, and I have no clue who most of these people are. I mean, you have the normal banks. I mean, you know, the normal participants, but the University of Singapore.
Hmm.
What? The Asian, the ADB, the ADB's. That's this is wild.
Asian Development Bank, which is
Yeah,
one of the original founders of the BRICS.
right,
Yep.
man. I tell you, they're hiding all this crap right in plain sight. They're mixing it up like a big. You put little pieces here. It's like an Easter egg. I'm telling you.
Yep. Yep.
My God, and this is more in your face. You people, I know you guys don't understand why I'm so excited about this stuff because, quite frankly, I've been digging around with this for 15 years now, and so back in the day, to be honest with you, we thought we knew what we were doing. We really did,
Hmm.
and we thought we knew how things were going to go and the direction, and we really didn't. So we had the overall scenario correct. We had
Hmm.
no clue all this was. That's a fact.
Hmm.
We talked about how it was going to happen in reverse, how it happened to start with the Republic and all that. And
Hmm.
everybody's like, "What's that even mean?" And we didn't even really get it, to be honest with you, because we thought it was just going to be a selection of reversing all the BS that was done to us, right? Well,
Hmm.
it was all done in secret, so now it's all getting done back the other way. It's like I was
Right.
telling you earlier today. At some point in time, there's going to be a book out, like the creature from Jekyll Island. It's going to be called something. It's going to be called something like "Here's How It Went Down" or something, and it's going to tell all the conspiracy theories how everything went back the other way.
Right.
It's just going to be crazy. I'm telling you. I don't know. I'm way too excited. I guess. It's like it's like wishing for something to happen so bad,
Hmm.
wishing that you were right, and wishing that you had it correct, and wishing that you were, you could tell everybody what you really thought. And now it's just like it's happening, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, this is wild.
Yeah. It's right in the open now.
Yeah, it is. That's it. That's it. And Goldilocks doing a hell of a job putting it out there for everybody. You guys, I'm telling you guys, you don't have any idea where you're at. You,
Hmm.
I talked to Mason. I talked to you guys. Need to get hooked up with who you are and all that stuff. That's coming.
Hmm.
That's coming shortly. But
Hmm.
you guys are in such a small minority of people that
Yep.
get it. You have an opportunity here to get some things that freaking 99% of the people in the world don't have a freaking clue even exists.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, if you knew where you were, you'd feel very, 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 very honored to be here with Freedom Fighter and the Goldilocks and bringing this stuff to you. Telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, let me get off that soapbox. Sorry.
That's all right, man. Appreciate it. You ready for some Q&A?
I am. Oh, that's my
Okay.
favorite
Okay.
part.
All right. Okay. And then, Wiley. I think Wiley has a question. Wiley, you can unmute, my good man. The one and only.
That Wiley Morgan.
Yeah, there he is.
Hey, how you fellas doing tonight?
Good. How
Hey,
you doing, sir?
we're doing good. How about you?
Good, good. Well, I don't have like a comment, but I do have a question.
This is pretty scary shit right here.
I
Freedom
know.
Fighter.
I know. Brace yourself.
I know.
No. I was listening to what the guys were talking about. What I want you to explain to some people, if we can, is you were talking
Hmm.
about the baskets of currencies and how that would relate to the coming October and the BRICS new memberships.
Hmm.
How would that change the dynamic globally as those currencies start to become par with one another? And if you could explain that, express that to the folks a little bit.
Okay. Yes, excellent. I'm glad you brought that up because you must have read my mind. I thought about to do that a little more earlier. So yeah, so folks, when you have these countries within the BRICS nations, such as the UAE dirham, the Turkish lira, the Chinese yuan, the euro is not a part of the BRICS, but when you have the BRICS nations, the BRICS makes up actually um, in the East, I believe it is 70% of the GDP for the eastern part of the world. And the value of currencies are large in part determined based on a country's GDP. So I remember sharing the graph with y'all a couple of weeks ago, where, if you recall, China, their GDP growth between 1991 to 2021 was a little over 4,000% GDP growth. They're number one in the world in GDP growth within that time frame. So when you have these countries within the BRICS who collectively are going to do trade amongst each other, but of course they'll continue to do trade with other countries that are not in the BRICS. But those countries specifically within the BRICS, think of it as for lack of a better term, a secret society, but that's not secret. But where these countries have strategic trade agreements with each other. And also, now I think about it, and Jester brought this up earlier, is about the payment systems that they're going to have in their own also um, currency, BRICS currency. These countries within the BRICS, the value of their currencies will rise because of their collective agreements amongst each other. And so if that, not if, but when that happens, that also affects the other countries that are pegged to the currencies of those BRICS nations. So when you have the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, and their currency, the dirham, the China and their currency, the Chinese yuan, India and their currency, the Indian rupee. Those are three BRICS countries for which the dinar will be pegged to. It provides extra stability and strength to the dinar because the dinar will be pegged to them. Then you take gold that will back all countries' currency, that then lies another level of stability. Then you take stable coins, for which all countries will have stable coins, which are the tokenizing of the assets to also provide stability, hence stable coins, provide stability to each country's currency. So just imagine you have the dinar that is pegged to three BRICS nations. It is it's huge. The impact that it will have on the dinar. That doesn't mean the dinar overnight, boom, goes to, you know, a value that everyone would love to see, but it does play a part in the valuation and the determination of the value of the dinar by the U.S. Treasury in Iraq, because they know the strength of the dinar, the backing of the dinar. Because just imagine, it's not the dinar is not pegged to the U.S. dollar. The dinar is not pegged to the Zim bond. It's not pegged to MA. I'm just thinking of Mexico, to the Mexican peso. It's pegged to three of the BRICS nations, which BRICS is really taking over the financial landscape of the world. So, Wally, did that make sense? Did I answer?
You did, but could we also discuss a little bit about some of those other currencies you mentioned and what's that mean when they're going to start to float and they rise? When you're talking about all ships rise with the tide, and what it means to
Absolutely,
somebody who might be holding that specific currency.
absolutely. So yeah, so like the Indian rupee, as well as it will rise, and float because it's also pegged to the other currencies within the BRICS nations, the BRICS um, network. Also, then you have the UAE dirham as well. It will begin to float up because of its pegging within the BRICS nations of the other BRICS currencies. Then every other currency within the BRICS, and then you think about the trade that each of those individual countries have trade agreements with. So you have Saudi Arabia, and I know Saudi Arabia right now, they haven't completely agreed to join, but Saudi Arabia as well. And think of oil and the connection to Saudi Arabia. Then you got to think of um, Egypt, South Africa as well. Each individual country within the BRICS does trade with a large majority of the countries around the world. So everything is connected to everything. Every currency will ultimately be connected to every currency. How? Through the quantum financial system. And it actually goes back to ISO 222, where all central banks around the world are connected to the ISO standards. So when you have all of these nations, including, I don't want to fail to mention, some of you may have Iran's currency. Iran, not sure if you all are aware, they're a new member of the BRICS. Ethiopia, new member of the BRICS as well. Egypt is a new member of the BRICS also. So all of those individual countries, for example, Iran is a major trade partner of Iraq. They're their neighbor, they're right next door. So they're all connected. Then Saudi Arabia, if they finally accept and go into the BRICS, that's the majority of your oil trade around the world. That's every currency in every country ultimately are connected to Saudi Arabia for oil because Saudi Arabia is the headquarters of OPEC as well. Did that clear that up, Wiley?
It did. And in that, would you say it would behoove one to watch those currencies we hold to see that what goes on with those, and as they rise and fall, that we might figure out our exit strategies or where we would want to visit with our bank and decide where we get off and take our dividends and move elsewhere?
Absolutely. That's where the threshold comes in that I've heard you mention before. So folks, and you watch these currencies as they float and they move, you can determine when you want to exchange, at what value, what rate, now, later, hold some, trade, exchange some, and you can strategize and plan, have a plan. And this is why the saying goes, if you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. And it's good to have a plan on knowing that these currencies, well, Iraq, for you guys to know, just in case you're wondering, Iraq will not float. They will, and they have said themselves directly in writing, they will move to a fixed rate. The rest of the currencies will float. And you want to have a plan and an exit strategy, and that relationship that you establish with your wealth managers is going to be key, because these are things that you can, at the time when you're ready to exchange, you can begin to have a plan incorporated with your wealth managers for what you want to invest in otherwise outside of uh, the currency when you are able to exchange. And you can have a plan to maximize and leverage, and that's key, to leverage your exchange and your exit strategy that Wiley's referring to. You may want to exchange at X amount and then invest into something else and then exchange later. Why? There is no such thing as double dipping.
Hey,
That
could
is also.
we? Yeah, I'm
Mhm.
sorry to interrupt you there, Freedom. I mean, can we talk about the double dip a little bit and what that means and why that's really kind of a fallacy, and investing in like gold and silver would be more prudent or beneficial in the long term?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
because with folks, people exchange currencies daily, weekly when they travel in and out of the country to different countries. Exchanging currency is just a normal thing every day. There's no such thing as double dipping. So, and because this is a simple exchange, it's not special that all of a sudden, because you're exchanging currency at a higher rate, that you can't exchange again later. But what you can do wisely is when you exchange, you could, if you so choose, to invest in other assets that are projected to rise in value, whether it's gold, silver, cryptos as well. But you can take advantage of investing in other areas, and actually, in the end, your return could be greater than if you just exchange all of your currency at one time. So, for example, just to speak numbers, someone may choose to excuse me, exchange some of the currency in a float, invest into whatever it may be. I'm not going to be specific. And then you end up with more in your return, because what you chose to invest in from your initial exchange goes up in value. It doesn't make sense to, and this is just my take, it doesn't make sense to exchange and then invest in more other currency that's already rising in value. That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to exchange your currency and then buy more of the same when it's already gone up. The idea is to get in at that at its lowest point and get out. Exit strategy as it rises, and have no hesitation. Have a plan and have no hesitation of when you exit, meaning when you exchange. Allow it to not be an emotional decision. So, for example, if you decide you're going to exchange at $1.50, whatever the currency is, do it and get out and move on. That's one of the biggest mistakes that a lot of traders make is they trade on an asset that they've made money in and then jump back in and try to make more. That's the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do.
Hey, I appreciate that freedom, Jester. I didn't mean to take up so much of your night with those questions, but I appreciate you letting me lead you there for some of the questions I get asked.
Awesome.
Really?
Appreciate
We love you.
it. Hello, beautiful people. This is Freedom Fighter. Thank you for tuning into our channel, Goldilocks Global Banking News. Everybody knows that Goldilocks is the #1 source for the RVGCR. People from around the world tune in to see what Goldilocks is sharing on the RVGCR. Don't miss your chance and get your latest updates every day. So like, share, and subscribe to this channel to get your daily podcast from the Goldilocks articles on the RVGCR. Brought to you by Freedom Fighter.